Greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the CJ Wilkins YouTube channel. I really appreciate you all's support. I was having a conversation earlier this week, right? And this was with a friend of mine who we both have small businesses, and we had met at City Hall. We were turning in some business paperwork, right? And this friend of mine, he struck up a conversation about, how do you always appear you're positive, or how do you always keep a smile on your face, almost as if you don't deal with anxiety, or you don't deal with worry, or you don't deal with things that really can beat down, I'll say, the average person, right? And I took it as a compliment, but I did have to reaffirm with this friend that I deal with depression and anxiety and everything that everyone else does, right? I deal with those same instances. I deal with insecurity. I deal with stress. I deal with depression. I'm not immune to that because I appear to be, whatever, he thought I was or whatever. And he was like, man, well, if you do deal with stress and depression, he was kind of looking for advice almost, you know what I'm saying? Not advice, but kind of tips on if you do deal with those things, right, how do you resolve it? How do you fix it? You know what I'm saying? And trust me, I am the last person on earth you should be asking on how to eliminate stress and depression and worry and all of that, because very few people overthink more than I do. Trust me, I am an overthinker. I'm someone who can really worry a lot, I've gotten a little better with it over time, but I will tell you one way to treat how to deal with any amount of stress or anxiety or deep depression, because we all deal with these things. No one is immune to dealing with the pressures of life and some of the bitter realities that we have to deal with and go through, you know what I mean? So one thing that I told my brother, I was telling him, man, a lot of times, and I want y'all to pick up on this as well, if you're listening or you watching this episode right now, right? When you're dealing with any amount of depression or stress or pressure or anxiety, any negativity that could come from social comparisons, right? It's so easy to enter into that dark space, right? And we all know what the dark space is. I don't have to break it down and give examples of it. If you have been alive for any amount of time, and especially if you watch my content, right? Because we get a little deep. You know what that darkness is, that feeling of unworthiness, that feeling of loneliness, that feeling of, man, am I enough, When you get into those spaces, a lot of gurus on YouTube or people who have podcasts, a lot of people are gonna sell you on not get rich, but almost along the same lines of the get rich type schemes. They're gonna try to sell you on the get happy quick, or let me fix that for you right away, right? They're gonna try to get you they're gonna try to sell you some variation or some form, right, of a happy pill, right? And I say that happy pill it's hyperbole, right? But they're gonna try to tell you some way that you can try to get happy as soon as possible, right? And I want you to know, man, sometimes I understand, right? If you've been going through a repetitive depressive state, right, it doesn't serve you to stay in that negative, low vibrational state, you know what I'm saying? But if you're someone who every once in a while, if you overthink or if you go into a period of anxiety or great depression, right? Sometimes it's not the best thing to try to hurry up and get out of that depression right away. When you go into those dark areas and those dark spaces, right? Sometimes it's actually beneficial to you, believe it or not. And I know you probably have never heard this said before, right? But sometimes it's actually good for you to stay in those areas a little bit. Sometimes it's good for you to sit in the frustration, to sit in the anxiety, to sit within the doubt, to sit within the frustration and the depression and the darkness and the loneliness. Sometimes, man, it's good for you to sit within it, you know. Sit within it, man. Soak it up, you know. Try to embrace it if you can, you know. I don't think people actually say that enough. There is a level of value, a great amount of value, I would say, because I practice this within my own life, right? But learn how to sometimes don't be so quick to try to look for an end-all, be-all fix, or don't be so quick to look for like an escape, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the natural reaction to depression and to stress and to the problems that we have. The normal thought pattern is to, okay, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm dealing with some anxiety right here. The easy thing to do, right? I'm not gonna say the easy, but the logical thing to do, right, is try to find a way out of it. Try to find an escape. And that escape could be anything. For some people, whatever it is that gives people a cheap, quick, fast, and easy dopamine hit, that's normally what people go for. So like when they get to a level of stress, like they're depressed about something, you know, they just feel really bad within that moment. And as a human, it's normal to want to alleviate pain and you want to feel better, you know. So they'll go to these vices that will give the illusion of like, you know, support or relief. But it's not really offering that in totality when you think about it. It's just an escape, you know. So like and that's how people develop addictions, man. They get on this hamster wheel of wanting to feel better, and they just rely on that by itself, right, to feel better. It can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be sex, it could be pornography, it can be whatever you can do to just give you a quick dose of, hey, everything's all right, everything's okay. This feels good. So because it feels good, it means I don't have to think about or worry about those things that are like triggering me, those things that are bothering me, those things that are dragging me down to a lower frequency and a vibration, you know. So try to sit in it, man. And I'm going to tell you, sitting in it, resting with it, is one of the hardest things in this world you'll ever do. I'm not going to come on this YouTube and tell y'all that it's something simple or, oh, it's so easy a caveman can do it. No, I'm not telling y'all that. Hey, sir, how you doing? One thing I love about living in Texas, there was a crossing guard there. I guess the kids are getting ready to get out of school. I love how friendly people are in Texas. In the South in general, right? You know, the Bible Belt, right? But I've lived in a lot of different like, you know, states and like regions and countries even. And no group of people are friendlier than people who live in the South. So, but let me get back on the episode because I done got off topic a little bit, you know, talking about Texas or whatever. But you got to find a way to sit within the pain, man, you know, and it's hard to do, right? But I'm going to tell you, when you sit within the pain, it does a few things, right? Because I know, like, if you're listening, like, to this, you're like, what is it about sitting in the pain that does anything for you? Like, you'll think, okay, I'm sitting in the pain, but Chris, what should I be looking to gain from this? What should I ascertain or get from sitting within the pain? Sitting within the pain and really immersing yourself within whatever it is that's worrying you or stressing you or depressing you you gotta really sit within it and soak it up, right? And when you soak it up, it allows you to acknowledge it. So many times, all we do is we try to run from it, you know. We try to run from it, and it's a natural thing again because listen, no one wants to feel pain. No one wants to deal with agony, you know. But you have to sit within it, and when you can sit within it, right? And I mean, cut off all distractions, like when you do this. So like if you're doing this at home, you need to turn off all the TVs, put your cell phone down, put your tablet down, put your book down, put your vibrator down, or whatever it is that you, put the alcohol down, put the weed down, put the Xbox or PlayStation controller down, put the remote down, right? Don't try to play with your pets or play with your kids or, you know, try to be flirty with your significant other if you have one. This is about you. And you got to sit within it with no distractions. Like there should be nothing within your vicinity for however much time you give yourself. Like I normally do 30 minutes. But for you, it may be 15 minutes. It may be 5 minutes. It may be 7 minutes. It may be 2 minutes. It may be 30 seconds. But isolate yourself temporarily to where you can really sit within your worries and your stressors and your depression, right? Sit within it and create an environment to where you can sit within those things that worry you and drag you down, and you can actually rest within that without distraction, without anyone, hey mom, or hey dad, or you know, your husband can't really bug you, or your wife can't kind of nag at you a little bit while you're trying to get this thing done. But really sit in it and observe what it is that's stressing you out and really examine it. Take inventory of all the things that's bringing you stress, things that are making you doubtful about yourself, things that are making you worry and feel like you're not adequate enough, because you're more than worth whatever you think you're not worth. Trust me. Don't fall for the illusions and the tricks online that people put out, or don't get tricked by the facades and you compare your real life to like a made up image of something else, you know. But really sit in it, man, and really examine it. Look at and it's an ugly thing to look yourself in the mirror and to look at the things that stress you or the things that worry you. It's hard to do. It's not easy, you know. I wouldn't even lie to you and tell you that, oh, it's so easy once you know, man, it's hard, it's difficult, you know. But I will tell you this, once you do it, it's something to it that will free you in a way that you probably didn't even think you could be freed, you know. But really examine it, man. Pick it up, hold it, touch it, smell it, taste it, see it, question it. And if you have to cry, if you have to break down and just, like, if you have to wail and, like, go through a box of Kleenex, just crying and worrying and just really feeling how you're supposed to feel. Like, it's okay to express. A lot of times we tell people, like, oh, you know, with all of this toxic positivity where, like, you just have to always be happy, or you have to always, hey, it's okay, we can just forget about all the stress and the worries and everything's gonna be all right, man. Sometimes it's okay to be, like, worried, or sometimes it's okay to stress sometimes, man. It's normal. It's not a good thing, right? I'm not saying like it's a badge of honor to be depressed about something or worry, but sometimes it's good to just sit in it, man, and really break it down to you have to know how to break it down to the purest forms and elements of it. And don't judge yourself for doing it. Like, please don't go hard on yourself as a result, because I can tell you from experience, I can be my biggest cheerleader sometimes, but I could also be my biggest critic too. I could also be my biggest hater sometimes too, right? So we have to pray against that. We have to work against that, right? So when we're sitting down in it, man, and we're examining why we feel the way we feel, why do I get depressed when I see this? Why, when I experience this, why do I get so down on myself? You know, why does it hurt me so much? Why is it, you know? And it could be for a plethora of different reasons. You could have unresolved trauma in your life. You could have deep-rooted abandonment issues that you never addressed, or you just kind of like you sweep it to the back of your mind, you know. You could have like, you know, trust issues. You could have been hurt in a relationship or a marriage or something, and you know it didn't work out, and you know you internalize that as you being a failure, right? Because some of y'all like watching this, you've been laid off from your job, you know, and you feel like because you can't get another job right away, you may internalize that as you're not valuable to the job market, you know, and that's a lie. That couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. Some of y'all watching this and you've had a failed relationship or a failed engagement or a failed marriage, and you look at it like, man, maybe I'm not a good man, or maybe I'm not a good woman as a result, and that's not true. But what you do need to do is you need to sit down every once in a while and do an audit and really just break down, why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like as a woman you're not a good woman because that man didn't want to stick around, you know? Because you shouldn't internalize that, right? And vice versa. Like, I'm not just saying that like only women deal with that or go through it, like men do as well. But like even as a guy, like, you know, you dealing with a woman and she's, you know, y'all were hitting it off great, and she just withdrew and pulled back and started acting weird and strange out of the blue, and you know you can't figure it out, and you're wrecking your mind trying to see, man, what did I do, or what did I say, or why she don't like me anymore, or, you know, like, don't, bro, listen. The more important thing is, why do you feel that way? You know what I'm saying? Because the way that we internalize a lot of things speak as to how we feel about ourselves, right? So when things in your life happen and you feel horrible about yourself as a result, sometimes it's normal, but sometimes it's things that we need to address, that we need to deal with on a deeper level. And, you know, I always encourage people, man, you know, if you are a religious person, always build a relationship with God. Know how to talk to God, and like, I'm a huge advocate of prayer. But in conjunction with prayer, there's work we have to do as well. There's things that we have to do as men and women that we can do to help ourselves in these type of moments. And one of those things we can do to help ourselves is we can learn how to sit within our own drama, within our own bullshit, within our own toxicity,